Welcome to this next episode of the Beloved Miracles Couples Project. Today I'm reaching from Norway to North Garden, Virginia, USA. Hello, John.
Hi, Timothy.
John Milton Fogg is a writer, coach, speaker, and to say he is a well-known network marketing person is an understatement. He has been author, editor of more than 25 books and audio programs and over 4 million copies of the same sold. He authored The Greatest Networker in the World, which is one of the best-selling network marketing titles with over 1.5 million sold around the world and somewhere close to 3 million readers. He founded Upline and Network Marketing Lifestyles, contributing editor for Success Magazine, founding editor-in-chief for Networking Times, and he was one of the founders of the networkmarketingmagazine.com, to name just a few of his long list of accomplishments. John's current focus and passion addresses the #1 problem in the world today, the fact that nobody is listening. John has taught and studied speaking and listening for more than 25 years, and it remains his primary focus today. Speaking and listening. The book, an online course, will be completed and released in the summer of 2017. We may just have a pre-release bonus for those of you catching this interview with John now. So John, where does your story begin?
You mean where was I born? That's the beginning of my story. I was actually born in Virginia, and it took me about 45 years to get back here.
Where did you journey off from your stomping ground to then need to come back?
Well, I grew up in the state of Pennsylvania on the East Coast. I am an East Coast kid. Spent time in Boston, Massachusetts, about 15 plus years in the Boston area, New England. My 2 oldest children, I've got a 35-year-old daughter, Rachel, and a 30-year-old son, Johnny. They were born in New England, and I came down south and back to, went to North Carolina and then back to Virginia. And I've been here, I don't do dates all that well, Timothy, about 20 years. Nice. And I love it. Virginia is just the most beautiful state. Especially springtime now, which we're enjoying. Except today is I ended up having to put on the sweater and the turtleneck. Maybe it's sympathy for Norway. It's just chilly today.
We've had some snowfall ourselves in the last couple of days. That was an early spring surprise for us too. So yeah, it's still settling into springtime. Well, this is fascinating. And, you know, you and I were just reflecting on how you and I originally met, which was a good number of years ago around this topic of listening. And as I recall, it was like listening practice. Didn't we call it that? Something similar to that at the time?
You're stretching my memory, Timothy. I'm not sure what it was called. I think it was leadership and productivity.
I don't recall.
I don't know.
That's
dark age. Back in the dark age.
That's both of us a little foggy on that memory, but I do recall the experience vividly. You and your wife at that time were consulting me. I had paid for your coaching and your assistance, and what you were teaching me were skills around this topic of listening and how to listen like I'd never listened before. And these are skills, John, that have never left me, and they've been like seeds that you planted in my experience at that time, which continue to grow today, even though I've relocated around the world as well. So first of all, is a profound thank you and gratitude I have for the work you were doing back then. And I'm fascinated as well to see what you're still doing today and the vision you have, which I hope you'll share with us now, of where is it you're wanting to take speaking and listening next in 2017?
Well, both speaking and listening are lifelong learnings. And I think what happened to you, Timothy, is that, and it happens to most people, if you apply yourself to these two skills and start to really get into them, it's like riding a bicycle. You never forget. Now, you may forget to do them. You may be careless about using your skills. You may get a little rusty, but they never leave you, because they are the two of the most fundamental life skills. And their importance has, for me, grown over the years, so much so that now, even though I've done writing and I've done network marketing and I've done this and I've done that, what I'm devoting the rest of my life to is furthering people's improving these two skills, because life is about relationships and friendships and partnerships and developing your own leadership, whether that's leadership at home or leadership in a business or leadership in your community. And all of these ships are based on communication. And so when we can improve, even incrementally, our ability, our skills of speaking and listening, we have this huge impact over the rest of our lives. And there are some ultimate destinations of this. I think if we created a world where people, instead, the subtitle of the book you mentioned that we're going to talk about giving people at the end of this recording, at the end of this interview, the subtitle is a little in your face. It's "You Don't Listen and You Talk Too Much." And the fact of the matter is, if we look at our world today, really, are our nations, the nations of the world, listening to each other? Do employers and employees, are they listening? The policeman on the corner, the clerk behind the counter, the serving person at the restaurant, are they really listening to you? And my favorite example is, anybody married? Is your spouse really listening to you? And if you've got kids, what's your biggest complaint about them? They don't listen. And their biggest complaint about you is you don't listen. So this listening and really truly being heard by each other is of fundamental importance. And it's a two-sided coin. If we've got listening on one side, the yin and yang of that is speaking on the other. This is the male, female, day, night. So it's speaking and listening. And as I said, if we can improve those skills, our relationships flourish, our friendships evolve, we get more of them, we get into them easier. And these are simply skills. But I don't think, I don't know about you, but for myself, I had no formal education in speaking and listening. I had no formal education with the understanding that most of life is created in conversation. It's how I connect with the people in my life. And it is a fundamental fact of life that this is almost in our DNA, Timothy, have a desperate need to be understood by other people and to understand other people. I think we all walk around with this kind of Post-it note on our forehead which says, "Know me." I want to be known by you. I want you to know who and how I am. And I want to know who and how you are. This is life. We don't live it alone. We live it in relationship, friendship, partnership with others.
How do we measure it, though, John? I've wondered this myself over the years, doing some extensive work with listening practice. It's rather an elusive thing, right? I mean, on one hand, there's a word like rapport, right? We know when we have rapport with someone. On another hand, we can feel good or not feel good, right? In the exchange of the speaking and the listening. Do you have some other measures that you can offer for how can we know we're on course and improving, like truly improving our speaking and our listening?
Well, it's real subjective, and you can always measure things. And a simple tool that we use in our speaking and listening work in the courses is a scale of 1 to 10. And you can do this with anything. You can do this with happiness, which is a very elusive concept in terms of how do I measure happiness. Health is very similar. How do I measure my health? So I use a 1 to 10 scale. 10 is it couldn't be better. It just could not be better. That's a 10. And 1 is you're flatlined. You're dead. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how good a listener do you think you are? Couldn't be better? Really? Cool. 8, hey, I'm pretty good, but I've got some things I can do. In the course that we have, we've got 11 reasons why people don't fully and truly hear each other. Examples of that are mind reading. Frequently, have you ever had people finish your sentence for you when you're speaking?
Yes.
That's an example of mind reading. We can't know what someone else is thinking. Another one is daydreaming. So here we're interviewing and you start asking me a question and I'm out here and thinking about the butterfly thing on my window that my little girl made. Oh, what, Tim? Excuse me? I'm sorry. There are a number of reasons. One of the biggest ones is interpreting. We do this all the time. My little girl is named, my youngest one, and my last one is named Anais. And for me, her name comes from the poet Anais Nin, the artist and poet, the French. And the reason is my favorite quote outside of things from the Bible, my very favorite quote comes from Anais Nin. And she said, "See things as they are. We see things as we are." Now, go back to the last 5 or 6 conversations you've had with another human being. How much of what that other person did with you was them seeing things as they are? Not what you said, not what you thought. You weren't really heard. Oh, some of it, yes. We hear 30 to 50,000 words every day, but that's the noise. That's not what was really being said. We're constantly interpreting what the person means by this and filtering it through our own experience. And it's quite natural. It's not, yes, you're guilty, but you're not to blame. You do it because you're human and you were never taught any different. It's not how you grew up. It's not how I grew up. Our parents did not say to us, man, you've got to learn to listen. Listen this way, listen without judgment, listen without editorial comment. My mom never said that to me. Mostly it was, listen to me and do what I tell you. Okay, parents do that. But there are all new levels of that. Listening can heal. I know you love stories. Will you allow me to read you a story? Absolutely. And I'm reading it, Timothy, not speaking it because I haven't memorized it. I mean, I know it well, but the writer did it so well that I'd love to read it to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, bring it on, John.
Okay. This is called Listen. Someone's life may depend on it. I'm going to read you a wonderful piece written by Shirley Ferguson. There are many good and great reasons to learn to listen better than most of us do now. Perhaps this short story will provide you with a compelling one. We all know what it's like to get that phone call in the middle of the night. This night was no different. Jerking up to the ringing summons, I focused on the red illuminated numbers of my clock. Midnight. Panicky thoughts filled my sleep-dazed mind as I grabbed the receiver. Hello? My heart pounded. I gripped the phone tighter and eyed my husband, who was now turning to face my side of the bed. Mama? The voice answered. I could hardly hear the whisper over the static, but my thoughts immediately went to my daughter. When the desperate sound of a young crying voice became clear on the line, I grabbed for my husband and squeezed his wrist. Mama, I know it's late, but don't say anything until I finish. And before you ask, yes, I've been drinking. I nearly ran off the road a few miles back and I drew in a sharp, shallow breath, released my husband, and pressed my hand against my forehead. Sleep still fogged my mind, and I attempted to fight back the panic. Something wasn't right. And I got so scared. All I could think of was how it would hurt you if a policeman came to your door and said I'd been killed. I want to come home. I know running away was wrong. I know you've been worried sick. I should have called you days ago, but I was afraid, so afraid. Sobs of deep felt emotion flowed from the receiver and poured into my heart. Immediately, I pictured my daughter's face in my mind, and my fogged senses seemed to clear. I think, no, please let me finish, please, she pleaded. Not so much in anger, but in desperation. I paused and tried to think what to say. Before I could go on, she continued, I'm pregnant, Mama. I know I shouldn't be drinking now, especially now, but I'm scared, Mama, so scared. The voice broke again, and I bit into my lip, feeling my own eyes fill with moisture. I looked up at my husband, who was silently mouthing, who is it? I shook my head, and when I didn't answer, he jumped up and left the room, returning seconds later with a portable phone held to his ear. She must have heard the click in the line because she asked, are you still there? Please don't hang up. I need you. I feel so alone. I clutched the phone and stared at my husband, seeking guidance. I'm here. I wouldn't hang up, I said. I should have told you, Mama. I know I should have told you. But when we talk, you just keep telling me what I should do. You read all those pamphlets on how to talk about sex and all, but all you do is talk. You don't listen to me. You never let me tell you how I feel. It's as if my feelings aren't important. Because you're my mother, you think you have all the answers. But sometimes I don't need answers. I just want someone to listen. I swallowed the lump in my throat and stared at the How to Talk to Your Kids pamphlets, scattered on my nightstand. I'm listening, I whispered. You know, back there on the road, after I got the car under control, I started thinking about the baby and taking care of it. Then I saw this phone booth, and it was as if I could hear you preaching to me about how people shouldn't drink and drive. So I called a taxi. I want to come home. That's good, honey, I said, relief filling my chest. My husband came closer, sat down next to me, and laced his fingers through mine. But you know, I think I can drive now. No, I snapped. My muscles stiffened, and I tightened the clasp on my husband's hand. Please, wait for the taxi. Don't hang up on me until the taxi gets there. I just want to come home, Mama. But do this for your mama. Wait for the taxi, please. I listened to the silence in fear. When I didn't hear her answer, I bit into my lip and closed my eyes. Somehow I had to stop her from driving. There's the taxi now. Only when I heard someone in the background asking about a yellow cab did I feel my tension easing. I'm coming home, Mama. There was a click, and the phone went silent. Moving from the bed, tears forming in my eyes, I walked out into the hall and went to stand in my 16-year-old daughter's room. My husband came from behind, wrapped his arms around me, and rested his chin on the top of my head. I wiped the tears from my cheeks. We have to learn to listen, I said to him. He studied me for a second and then asked, do you think she'll ever know she dialed the wrong number? I looked at our daughter sleeping, then back at him. Maybe it wasn't such a wrong number. Mom, Dad, what are you doing? The muffled voice came from under the covers. I walked over to my daughter, who now sat up, staring into the darkness. We're practicing, I answered. Practicing what? She mumbled and laid back on the mattress, but her eyes already closed in slumber. Listening, I whispered, and brushed a hand over her cheek.
Yeah,
I have trouble keeping it together when I read that story because it's such a connecting sense of the value and power of listening and the price of not listening.
Thank you, John, for sharing that. It speaks for itself. Right?
That's a good one, isn't it?
It is, right? I mean, we can all relate to each of those roles, each of us, and probably even the babe in the crib. We can relate to some sense of earlier, wanting our parents to see us, right? Our whole lives, wanting our parents to know us, to hear us, as you said.
Yeah, and you know, you have a child. I have 4 children. As I said, a 35-year-old, a 30-year-old. I also have a just about to be 15-year-old and a just become 11-year-old. My joke, Timothy, is I had to make my own grandchildren. One of the things I'm adamant about with my girls, especially, and I have the blessing that so the first 2, and I get a do-over. You know, I got a chance to try again with these 2. And on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, sometimes I pop a couple of 10s now and then, but I think I hover mostly around 7, in all honesty. But I am devoted to having them be heard. I'm devoted to, committed to asking them what they think and not telling them what I think. Unless their safety is at risk, what I share is, well, Here's what I think. Here's what I would do. But I'm not you. You do it. You think it. You feel it. Let me know if I can help. It's all about honoring their humanity, their growth, and their bringing themselves to life fully and completely. And that's what we do when we truly speak and listen to another person. It's why Carol McCall taught me, when people are truly heard, they can be healed. Listening is an act of love.